All right, Calc 2, we're going to get close to the end of our discussion on series with convergence of Taylor series. Right. In the last section, we looked at when a Taylor series for a function can be expected to converge to the function that generates it. Right. When does this happen? The finite order Taylor polynomials that approximate the Taylor series provide estimates for the generating function. In order for these estimates to be useful, we need a way to control the possible errors we may encounter when approximating a function with its finite order Taylor polynomials. How do we bound such possible errors? We answered this question in this section with the following theorem. So here's theorem 23. This is Taylor's theorem, right? If f and its first n derivatives are continuous on the closed interval between a and b, and the nth derivative of f is differentiable on the open interval between a and b, then there exists a number c between a and b such that f of b equals f of a plus f prime of a times b minus a times f prime plus f double prime of a over 2 factorial times b minus a squared plus, we keep going, right? Plus the nth derivative of a over n factorial times b minus a to the nth power plus the n plus 1th derivative of f at c over n plus 1 factorial times b minus a to the n plus 1. That's a lot, but just have this one written down, right? Taylor's theorem is a generalization of the mean value theorem. We're not going to prove it here. When we apply Taylor's theorem, we typically want to hold a fixed and treat b as an independent variable. So Taylor's formula is easier to use, right, in circumstances like these if we change b to x. Here's a version of this theorem with this change, right? So if f has derivatives of all orders in an open interval I containing a, then for each positive integer n, and for each x in I, f of x equals f of a, plus f prime of a times x minus a, right, plus f double prime of a over 2 factorial plus times x minus a squared, plus f triple prime of a over 3 factorial times x minus a cubed, and we keep on going, right? But then at the end, our difference is our last term is called r sub n of x, right? Where that is equal to f of n plus 1 times c over n plus 1 factorial times x minus a to the n plus 1 power for some c between a and x. A lot of the time we want to use this one. It's a bit easier to work with. We just change b to x, but that is sometimes makes it easier for us to kind of state this, right? When we state Taylor's theorem this way, it says that for each x in I, f of x equals p sub n of x plus r sub n of x. And that function, r sub n of x, is determined by the value of the n plus 1 derivative at a point c that depends on both a and x and is somewhere in between them. For any value of n we want, the equation gives both a polynomial approximation of f of that order and a formula for the error involved in using that approximation over the interval I. Right? Equation 1 above was called Taylor's formula. Right? The function r sub n of x is called the remainder of order n, or the error term for the approximation of f by p sub n of x over the interval I. So here's another important fact we're going to use, right? If r sub n of x approaches 0 as n approaches infinity for all x in the subset of I, right? We say that Taylor series is generated by f at x equals a, or the Taylor series generated by f at x equals a converges to f on I. And we write f of x is the sum of all k from 0 to infinity of the kth derivative of a, or the kth derivative of f at a, over k factorial times x minus a to the k power. Now, a lot of the time we can estimate that Rn function without knowing the value of c, as the following example shows up. Right, so show that the Taylor series generated by f of x equals e to the x power at x equals 0 converges to f of x for every real value of x. Well, that function has derivatives of all orders throughout the interval I, which is the real line. Right, equations 1 and 2 with f of x equals e to the x and a equals 0 give, right, e to the x is 1 plus x squared over 2 plus x x squared over 2 factorial, right, plus x cubed over 3 factorial, plus, and so on, plus x to the nth power over n factorial plus r sub n of x. And r sub n of x equals e to the c power over n plus 1 factorial times x to the n plus 1 for some c between 0 and x. Right? Since e to the x is an increasing function of x, e to the c power lies between e to the 0, which is 1, and e to the x. When x is negative, so is c, right? And e to the c power is less than 1. When x is 0, e to the x equals 1, so that r sub n of x equals 0. When x is positive, so is c, and e to the c is less than e to the x. So for r sub n of x given above, right, the absolute value of r sub n of x is less than or equal to the absolute value of x to the n plus 1 power over n plus 1 factorial when x is less than or equal to 0. And the absolute value of r sub n of x is less than e to the x times x to the n plus 1 over n plus 1 factorial when x is greater than 0. And finally, because the limit as n approaches infinity of x to the n plus 1 power over n plus 1 factorial equals 0 for every x, right? The limit of r sub n of x as n approaches infinity equals 0, and the series converges to e to the x for every x. Thus, e to the x equals the sum of all k from 0 to infinity of x to the k power over k factorial, right, which is 1 plus x squared over 2 plus 2 factorial plus x cubed over 3 factorial plus x to the k power over k factorial, right? This is another way we can write e to the x as a series, right? We can write e as a series as the sum of all n from 0 to infinity of 1 over n factorial. And we can use the result of example 1 with x equals 1 to write that, right? E equals 1 plus 1 over 2 factorial plus 1 over 3 factorial plus 1 over 4 factorial and so on, right? Plus 1 over n factorial plus r sub n of 1. Where for some c between 0 and 1, r sub n of 1 equals e to the c power times 1 over n plus 1 factorial, which is less than 3 over n plus 1 factorial. So it's often possible, right, to estimate the remainder like we just did. And this method is convenient, so we're stating it as a theorem so we can use it in the future. And this is the remainder estimation theorem. If there is a positive constant m, such that the absolute value of the n plus 1th derivative of f at t is less than or equal to m for all t between x and a inclusive, then the remainder term, r sub n of x in Taylor's theorem, satisfies the inequality. The absolute value of r sub n of x is less than or equal to m times the absolute value of x minus a to the n plus 1 power over n plus 1 factorial. And if this inequality holds for every n, and the other conditions of Taylor's theorem are satisfied by f, then the series will converge to f of x. And these next two examples use that theorem, right, to show that the Taylor series generated by the sine and cosine functions do in fact converge to the functions themselves. So we want to show the Taylor series for sine of x at x equals 0 converges for all x. So the function and its derivatives, right, are oscillating, right? F of x is sine of x, f prime of x is cosine of x, right? F double prime of x is negative sine of x, and f triple prime of x is negative cosine of x. We've seen this sort of example before, right? Right, so that the 2kth derivative of x is negative 1 to the k power times sine of x, and the 2k plus 1 derivative of x is negative 1 to the k power times cosine of x, right? So all the even derivatives, right, are the sine function, right, and all the odd derivatives are the cosine function derivatives here, right? So that, right, the 2kth derivative of f at 0 is always 0, right, because sine of 0 is 0. Right, and the 2k plus 1th derivative at 0 is negative 1 to the k power. And this series only has odd powered terms here, right? And for n equals 2k plus 1, Taylor's theorem gives us sine of x equals x minus x cubed over 3 factorial plus x to the 5th over 5 factorial, or x minus x cubed over 3 factorial plus x to the 5th over 5 factorial minus x to the 7th over 7 factorial plus x to the 9th, and we keep on going, right, with the odd values. Right, this is approximated by -1 to the k power times x to the 2k plus 1 power, right, over 2k plus 1 factorial, plus r sub 2k plus 1 of x. And all the derivatives of sine of x have absolute values less than or equal to 1. So we can apply the remainder estimation theorem with m equals 1 to obtain, right, the absolute value of r to the 2k, or r sub 2k plus 1 of x, right, is less than or equal to 1 times the absolute value of x to the 2k plus 2 power over 2k plus 2 factorial. And from theorem 5, rule 6, right, we have the absolute value of x to the 2k plus 2 power over 2k plus 2 factorial approaching 0 as k approaches infinity, whatever the value of x is. So, right, r sub 2k plus 1 of x approaches 0, and the Maclaurin series for sine of x converges to sine of x for every x. So, sine of x equals the series from k to infinity, the sum of all that, right, -1 to the k power times x to the 2k plus 1 over 2k plus 1 factorial, right? So that gives us x minus x cubed over 3 plus x to the 5th over 5 minus x to the 7th over 7, and so on and so forth. Now we're going to do the same thing for cosine, right? We're going to show the Taylor series for cosine of x at x equals 0 converges to cosine of x for every value of x. So the solution here, we're going to add the remainder term to the Taylor polynomial for cosine of x, right? That r sub 2k of x term at the end, right? So if we use, right, Taylor's formula for cosine of x where n equals 2k, right, I get cosine of x is 1 minus x squared over 2 factorial plus x to the 4th over 4 factorial, and then we go oscillating back and forth, right, with the even numbers going on here, right? And that is plus -1 to the k times x to the 2k power over 2k factorial times r sub 2k of x. And once again, right, the derivatives of the cosine all have an absolute value less than or equal to 1. So the remainder estimation theorem here with m equals 1 gives us the absolute value of r sub 2k of x is less than or equal to 1 times the absolute value of x to the 2k plus 1 power over 2k plus 1 factorial. For every value of x, r sub 2k of x approaches 0 as k approaches infinity here. So this series converges to cosine of x for every value of x. So cosine of x equals the series from 0 to infinity, right, of -1 to the k times x to the 2k over 2k factorial, right, which is 1 minus x squared over 2 factorial plus x to the 4th over 4 factorial minus x to the 6th over 6 factorial, and so on and so forth. So, using Taylor series here, right? Since every Taylor series is a power series, right, the operations of adding, subtracting, and multiplying Taylor series are all valid on the intersection of their intervals of convergence here, right? So using known series, right, we want to find the first few terms of the Taylor series for a given function by using our power series operations. Right, so for A, I've got 1/3 times 2x plus x cosine of x. And for B, I've got e to the x cosine of x. Right, so for A, right, I've got 1/3 times 2x plus x cosine of x. Right, that gives me 2/3 x plus 1/3 x times, and then we got the Taylor series for cosine of x in here. This is a value we're going to use pretty frequently. So you want to remember these Taylor series of values for cosine of x and for sine of x from before, right? So that's 2/3 x plus 1/3 x, and then we multiply our Taylor series for cosine in there, right? And once we combine all that, we get this: 2/3 x plus 1/3 x minus x cubed times over 3 factorial plus x to the 5th over 3 times 4 factorial, and then we extend on, right? And that's x minus x cubed over 6 plus x to the 5th over 72, and then we keep on going. For the second one, we'll do a similar thing, right? E to the x cosine of x. Well, we've already defined e to the x as a Taylor series before, right? So that gives us 1 plus x squared over 2 factorial plus x cubed over 3 factorial, and so on, times 1 minus x squared over 2 factorial plus x to the 4th over 4 factorial, and so on, right? If we multiply the first series, by each term of the second series, we get these parenthetical values down here, right? Which I'm not going to read out here. But that will condense down to 1 plus x minus x cubed over 3 minus x to the fourth over 6, and so on and so forth. And by theorem 20, right, if the Taylor series generated by f at x equals 0, or if the Taylor series generated f at x equals 0, right, the sum of all k from 0 to infinity of the kth derivative of f at 0 over k factorial times x to the k equals f of 0 plus f prime of 0 of x at x, right, plus f double prime of 0 over 2 factorial times x squared, and so on and so forth, plus the nth derivative of f at 0 over n factorial times x to the nth power, and so on, right? That's our row 6 here. That converges absolutely for the absolute value of x less than r. And if u is a continuous function, then the series, right, the sum of all k from 0 to infinity, of the kth derivative of f at 0 over k factorial times u of x to the k power, obtained by substituting u of x for x in the Taylor series of Formula 6, converges absolutely on the set of points x, where the absolute value of u of x is less than r. If u of x equals cx to the m, where c does not equal 0 and m is a positive integer, then the series of Formula 7 is a power series and can be shown to be the Taylor series generated by f of u of x at x equals 0. Right? We can find the Taylor series for cosine of 2x by substituting 2x for x in the Taylor series for cosine of x. Right? So instead of x up here, we have 2x, right? So I have 1 minus 2x squared over 2 factorial plus 2x to the fourth over 4 factorial minus 2x to the sixth over 6 factorial, and so on and so forth, right? So that's the sum of all k from 0 to infinity of negative 1 to the kth power times 2 to the 2k times x to the 2k over 2k factorial. And by theorem 20, this new Taylor series converges for all x. So example 5 is another sort of application problem. For what values of x can we replace sine of x by x minus x cubed over 3 factorial and obtain an error whose magnitude is no greater than 3 times 10 to the negative fourth power? Right. Well, here what we can do is we can take advantage of the fact that the Taylor series for sine of x is an alternating series for every non-zero value of x. According to the alternating series estimation theorem in 9.6, the error in truncating sine of x equals x minus x cubed over 3 factorial, right, plus x to the fifth over 5 factorial minus x to the seventh over 7 factorial, right? If we get rid of everything after that dotted line there, right, that's no greater than the absolute value of x to the fifth over 5 factorial, which is equal to the absolute value of x to the fifth over 120. So that means the error will be less than or equal to 3 times 10 to the negative fourth power if the absolute value of x to the fifth over 120 is less than 3 times 10 to the negative fourth, or, right, if the absolute value of x is less than the fifth root of 360 times 10 to the negative fourth, which is about 0.514. Right, the alternating series estimation theorem tells us something that the remainder estimation theorem does not. Right, the estimate x minus x cubed over 3 factorial for sine of x is an underestimate when x is positive, because then x to the fifth over 120 is positive. Right, so the figure below shows the graph of the sine of x, along with the graphs of a number of its approximating Taylor polynomials. Right, the graph of P3 down here, right, this is x minus x cubed over 3 factorial, looks a lot like a sine curve when x is between 0 and 1, right? This green curve, when x is between 0 and 1, looks almost exactly like a sine curve, right? And this is what we mean, we're approximating the sine function there. So that's the end of convergence on Taylor series. Don't save this one for the weekend. Get in this early because obviously this is wild stuff. I'll see you guys in the last section of chapter, our discussion on sequence and series after this one.